Let's go to England and speak to Colin Alexander. Dr. Colin Alexander, we should give you that credit at least, shouldn't we, Colin? A senior lecturer in political communications at Nottingham Trent University. Thanks so much for your time. I mean, these relations between Honduras and Taiwan go back to the 1940s. How significant is the rupture?
Yeah, I mean, this has been going on since 2016, since President Tsai Ing-wen became president of Taiwan. And her DPP party holds a more hostile position towards Beijing, and Beijing has really sort of flexed its diplomatic muscle. So you see that particularly in the Caribbean and in Central America, which has traditionally been a stronghold for Taiwan in the diplomatic sense. You see Beijing making significant inroads here. So Taiwan has lost Nicaragua, El Salvador, Panama in the last few years, or certainly since Tsai became president in 2016. And I say that this is just another loss. It still has Guatemala as a diplomatic ally.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that since Tsai Ing-wen became president, this is now the 9th diplomatic ally that Taiwan has lost. But actually, could it lose every single international ally that it has, as long as it keeps one? And you know which one I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, the United States is not a formal ally, and it hasn't been since 1978. But yes, I mean, you're ultimately correct that Taiwan could lose all of its formal diplomatic relations, and the equation between itself and Beijing would largely remain the same. Taiwan's approach to foreign policy over the last sort of 50 years or so has been to fully integrate itself into global supply chains, particularly in the tech industries, but also sort of smaller industries like bicycle manufacture, for example. So if Taiwan's perception is that if it is vital to global capital, then people are going to defend it. But also this has been one of the motives for Taiwan's democratization since the 1980s, that sort of sense of its moral international self, and that people would be rather appalled if Beijing were to be aggressive towards a well-functioning multi-party competitive democracy.
Do you think China's recognition from Honduras has come at the expense of financial incentives? That's at least what the Taiwanese are saying. They're saying not only is China going to reward Honduras financially, but also the Hondurans have been holding us hostage financially, asking us to take over part of their foreign debt, to build hospitals, to invest in infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting quandary here, in that Taiwan has rather willingly sustained some of these allies through what's called dollar diplomacy since the 1950s, and particularly after the 1970s. So it's kind of rich coming from Taiwan to say that this country is moving across to China based on sort of dangling carrots, if you like. But at the same time, I think that this is about Honduras itself. I don't think Taiwan quite gives Honduras credit here, in that if you look at the trajectory of relations across Central America, what you're really seeing is a flourishing of democracy and sort of due diligence within governance across the Central American isthmus. So you see El Salvador moving away from a system of patronage, sort of professionalism, or technocracy within their foreign policy and within their sort of diplomatic core, if you like, and ultimately having a more sort of realist foreign policy, and one based on self-interest rather than one based on ideology. I mean, if you go back to the Cold War, then largely the reason for why these states were allies of Taiwan was because they were sort of entrenched with the sort of Washington consensus at the time, and they were incentivized by Washington to keep relations with Taiwan. And what you see here is really a break in that, and a sense that the world has moved on from these days.
Colin, really appreciate it. Colin Alexander from Trent University, Nottingham Trent University in England. Take care, Colin.